Hello again, welcome back. We're now going to look at the main shape, which is this beast of a node group right here. And this is where the bulk of the shape making is located. And just for this, I'm going to turn off the color effects so that we just have a nice clean wall, and the bump effects 2 is on. Don't worry about this, we're going to get to them when we get to their own tutorial. So first up, we got to look at the colors. So the colors, brick 1 and 2, the colors are, you'll sometimes see bricks with that color and sometimes with exactly that color, but most of them will just be shaded between these two colors. So I'm not going to do, that's kind of self-explanatory. So just change your colors there. The bias, if you think of going right all the way to 1, then it will favour this colour, and if you go to -1, it will favour that colour. So type in 1, we get only this colour on every brick. -1, we get that colour on every brick. And 0, we get a happy medium. You get a mixture of the both of them. Okay, now let's move on. So single colour, multicolour mix, and it says bricks only because it's only for this. So at the moment the mortar is black. If I change the strength to 0.1, you can see it's black in there. It's very black. If we change it to another colour, you can see, so it's gonna, that's the single colour. If you then slide that over, we will have the mortar colour 1 and 2. Nothing's changed at the moment, but I'll show you how we can see that effect better. And it's controlled, well, it's not controlled, but it's dependent on this bias, which we'll get into. But for now, if that's on 0, we'll now see a bit of the original mortar colour around the edges, but this now is there is actually some bump for that, which shouldn't be off. Oh, it's off right now, but we don't want it off. Again, we'll get into that. So now you can see we've got the green and the yellow, I suppose, and this is the filter specifically for those colours. So if we put the scale up to something crazy like 20, you'll see this pattern. It's controlled by noise filter, and if you've used those, you know they work. If we took the detail down, it'd just be globules. But we want detail, so that's, you can control that with these filter controls. Where are we next? So hang on, multicolor 1. Yeah, we've done that. Multiple multicolors filter, so that just affects it. Yes. Okay, so strength is obvious. Let's put it up to 0.3 for fun. Maybe that's too far. 0.2. Mostly this is low numbers. Okay, so, and as you can see, some bricks come out a little bit further than others, which can be very useful. Mortar size, I mean, 0.1 would make it massive, if that's what you wanted, but I think I had 0.05, which even that is a bit too much, so I'm going to go 0.03. Mortar size. Edge smooth is a pernickety bleeder. I wouldn't, 1.1 does it, the edges are quite smooth. If you took it down to 0, they'd be rehash. So I would put, oh, wrong one. I got 0.110 for that there. That seems to be, no, 0.1. What did I go with before? Point smooth, alright, 1. 2. Yeah, there you go. Oh, let's go 1. Leave it at 1. Ah, 0.03 mortar size and edge smooth 1. Okay, so the bias, as I say, if you go, this one's the same as the colours, but it's -1 is very close to the wall extrusions. 1 is as far out from the wall as the displacement allows. So if we put this up to 1, all the bricks will come out at the same height. There won't be any variation. And if we put it to -1, the bricks will likely disappear completely. Yes. So bias of 0, happy medium, some in, some out, and then the multiple mortar colours works a treat with that. So we've done that. Mortar size, edge smooth, bias, brick width, row height. I mean, you know, that's fairly self-explanatory. 0.8 gives you squares, but we want bricks. So we go back down to 0.2. Random arrangement. It will just change where the bricks are. Say this hole was offending you and you wanted it somewhere else. You could just put in a number and have it replaced by a much less offensive brick. Extrusion height ramp. This is some more control. So if so again, position 1, like a color ramp, position 1 is the black and position 2 is the white when you open a color ramp. So if I bring this, if I give more to this, so let's say 0.4, I'm moving the black slider, so I'm saying more gaps, basically. More of the bricks close to the wall. Whereas if I brought position 2 closer to position 1, as in give it more white, more extrusion, so let's put it at 0.2, we'll get way less holes. Not way less, let's go 0.1, that should be way less. So yeah, you can only see there's a couple of holes now where the bricks have disappeared, and you can see that mortar showing. So that's just a good bit of extra control on top of the bias. Alright, extrusion height ramp done. Brick distortion. Alright, now if you bring the mix in, it will distort like crazy. So there's several ways to deal with that. You could just mix it less, which is the easiest way and quickest. So now you're getting some subtle variation in the angles of, by the looks of it, both horizontal and vertical. So just for argument's sake, if we rank that up to 1, then the scale of this is controlled by, so the horizontal distortion strength, I don't know if I said that right, I've got it on 2. It's probably way high. Put it on 1. That's already more realistic. Yeah, and you know, if you took the detail down, I think it would be less scraggly, but clearly a bit wavy. So you want to find a happy medium, I suppose. Let's try 12. Yeah, that's all right. There's many ways to get a subtle change or subtle variation in the wobbliness of the bricks. The easiest, as I say, is to set it up and then just lower the strength of the mix, just to get a subtle effect like this. Very nice, very nice, wonderful. All right, so that covers the bricks. Next, the checker tiles. So slide that in. You get, yes, what's happened here, because it looks awful, I'm aware. The multiple colours is for bricks only, as it says, so once you switch out of bricks into something else, you need to slide that down, and we'll get into this, as I say, when it's got its own tutorial, but you also need to slide this brick shape bump FX mix. Slide that out, and now we are very much into check tiles mode. The strength is crazy. It might be because of the displacement. What's it on? No, it's not because of the displacement. We're just going to have to put smaller numbers in. Overall scale, let's for a start lower that to 2. And how much? There is a lot of strength in this, so I'm going to go 0.05. That's better. Alright, okay. So yeah, you've seen what those two do. You got your colour 1, your colour 2. Self-explanatory. Great Sayce. This is another pernickety one, and I've tried to limit this the scale, the limit of how I can't think of the bloody word, the range, the range. So it's very small changes can do big things. in other words, and it's a mixture of getting the grout smooth, because if I had no grout smooth, it looks like that. So grout size 0.02. You can see what that's doing. It's drawing the edges closer together, but because the grout smooth is on 0, it's not going to work. So when you start smoothing it, it starts smoothing this edge towards there. So if we put, I don't know, 1, yeah, there you go. So you can get like a nice edge, nice little edge. Rotation, we're already on 45 degrees. Put it on 0. There you go, you can do that. Distorted edges is already on, yet there is not a great deal of distortion, and that is because I've actually just got rid of these controls. They're not going to be there when you see this. It's going to start here, tiles horizontal. So at the moment the scale's on 0. If we put that up to probably maybe 0.3, you see there's some changes happening. Let's put 0.8. Let's give it some detail. 16, a bit of roughness. 0.6. And you see, you know, the edges are beginning to look a bit bad. 0.8, I'm just going to put the same in the vertical. 0.6. So I just press tab to go through them, and then you get a distorted, very distorted tiles. Weirdly, if I think this one, you can't actually, it's either on or it's off. Oh no, it works. So yeah, you edit it with that as well, you know. So slide that in, muck around with those controls, but again, this distorted edges filter has gone. I don't know why it's still there. Anyway, let's move on to Voronoi tiles. That's what this looks like, and that's because I've got some random on it. So this is, as you can see by the name, based solely on the Voronoi, and it works in the same way. So randomness I've put at 0.2. I could put it all the way up, and you would expect that to happen as if you were going to start a rocky. In fact, let's start with the rocky thing. So I want to do some rocks, right? I want to get me rocks. This here, horizontal orientation, you'll see what happens. They point the other way. And vertical, if I go minus numbers, it will point down. So you could create, you know, like tiles, roof tiles or something, if it wasn't so random. So I'm just pulling the geometry down. Horizontal scale, what happens if I go to 2? Ah, yeah, pillock. So this is if you, let's have a look. If I drag this up a bit, or do I want to? Wait. I'm going to bring this scale down to 0.2, so I can create this kind of rocky thing, and it's going to look more like rocks in a second, I assure you. And you can rotate them as well if you want, if you fancy it, if it takes your fancy. That'd be a bit weird with the randomness. If it wasn't random, you'd see it rotate straight away. So the distortion, again, you can whack that up, and we've got what looks like way too much roughness on one of these. So let's put that to 0.6, if you don't mind. And hang on, which one is it? There's 2 distortion filters. In fact, if I just turn them both off to start, it might be a distortion doing that. Again, this is, you know, you got to experiment with these things. Just move sliders, see what happens. Let's put 0.5. Let's put the scale to, I don't know, 10. What happens when I put 10? Okay, that's alright. Maybe a bit less, a bit more roughness. As you can see, there's so much in this, it's hard to know exactly what everything's going to do, and no one can tell you exactly what something's going to look like until you change these settings. So I think what's confusing me is my scale, horizontal scale, is too small. Let's put 0.6. Now we can let's bring up the scale of the whole thing. Overall scale, 0.5. I say bring up, I mean. And somewhere there's too much going on. 5. Yeah. And I could probably do with some roughness over here, dude. Just crack that up. Awesome. My distortion's on 7.5. Scale. Let's do the scale again. 0.8. Yeah. You're just experimenting. If this was... Let's take the randomness. Let's take the randomness out of it. Like that. And now we can see clearly that the vertical distortion is doing far more than the horizontal. Why is that? It's experimentation. Mess around with it. Change numbers. That's the fun. You really aren't 100% clear what's going to happen until you change some numbers. And where's the randomness gone? I do always like a bit of randomness. Okay, and your colours are there. Green, that's for the grout, I suppose, and then the grey for what look like the rocks. If we, for now, just lower that considerably, because we've mixed it in full there. There we go. And let me just bring them out a bit. Overall strength, 4. Okay. And I'm actually going to have a little bit more roughness there. So the shape ramp, again, 0 is the black on the left and that one's on the right. So if I bring this closer, the contrast will be greater. So we'll get very sharp. Yep. Let's bring that strength down to 0.6. So the closer these are together in the shape ramp, the more contrast there will be. So you can see now these gaps are getting much closer together because the geometry is being pushed and pushed further towards the edge. If it was at, I don't know, 0.03, you barely see, you just see cracks, I suppose. So that's what, you can edit the shape of that as well. That's too far, 0.6. That's probably still too far, 0.5. That's because of the thingy. Lastly, there is something else which you may find yourself needing to do, and that is, let's just get out of the camera mode. Let's say you have 2 walls in the scene. Alright, and they're different buildings. You need them to be different. And all the changes you make outside of these node groups can be individual to the material. So for example, if I click on this plane, if I put that on so we can see, if I click this plane here and select this little number to make it its own material, so any changes I make on these node groups will only affect that one, the one on the right. So I can change the colors, that's all great and everything. But what if you want to change the pattern? So as you can see, these changes I'm making out here make a difference only on this one, not on that one, because that's its own material. But when you select the main shape, if you press tab, you won't be ended up looking at that, you'll be looking at that. Select that and then press tab again, you're into the brick nodes. The only way I could make this work and clean was to have these in a group within a group, like Inception. This is the only way, it's fine. So now what happens is, if I change something like that, even though it's only on its own material over here, it's going to make the same changes over here. So if I just change both of those, because it's important. So I've changed the actual brick pattern, but it's changed on both. You can see they're different materials, but they're making the same changes. And the reason for that is that it doesn't make individual copies of the node groups once you make a new material. So to get out of this, Control Tab. To get out of this, Control Tab, and you're back to here, back to the main shape. So what you need to do so that these changes do not affect the other wall is this, there's a number there. If that bar isn't there on any of your node groups, right click, toggle node options, and then that'll appear. And at any group that is within a group, you need to select that. So you make that its own, you tab into this, and you're going to need to do the same. So toggle node options, press that so that only 20 items now use that one. And then when you go in and make the changes, it's only going to affect the wall on the right. So there you go. So now you've got your two different brick patterns if you wanted that pattern. Now when you make a change, these are the defaults, but as it says here, settings on both brick nodes must match. They absolutely simply must match. If they don't match, it's going to go higgledy-piggledy and make an absolute mess. Don't do it. You must match them. So let me go back to 0.5. So I've got to put 0.5 down here, and let's do something else. This is experimentation as well. You'll just figure this out. Let's put frequency, I don't know, 4 there, and let's put frequency 4 there. And then there should be like littler bricks in the middle. Yeah, so you've got 3 are straight, and then you've got a block of, I mean, you can see what we're looking at, can't you? Okay, so that's how you make changes to the actual shape itself. You have to come in here in order to do that. And again, Control Tab out of that one, Control Tab out of that one, and you're back to the top. Alright, so that's useful to know about that one. Okay, so that is the main shape pretty much in a nutshell, as much of a nutshell as I could make it. We're going to move on to the next one, displacement effects. These other ones won't take as long as that one, because that is the meat of it, the meat on the bones. So I shall see you in the next one, displacement FX. Until then, farewell.